Want to sell a cup or a pen or a sock? Marketing has become the core of selling any product, and increasingly technology and AI have played a big role in it. Today, brands look for new ways to create authentic connections with consumers and fans alike. AI is being used to write better content, to generate blogs, email copies, and even social media posts. So, do you want to publish content regularly without adding more work to your plate or more employees to your team? And what about that viral media
9 plus 10 is.
9 พับ10 9 พับ10
Did you go to school?
I live in Vietnam in a farm ลูกนาข้าว
that can attract more eyeballs to your product? Is there a way you can do away with the content calendar completely? Lately, content has become a necessity, right? But creating it regularly can be a headache and tiresome job. Meet Lately.AI. This AI-based social media management tool can help you turn your content into excellent social media posts and save a good deal of money. You could be working on blogs, videos, podcasts, or articles. Lately can help syndicate the content you create. It is being used extensively by small and medium businesses from different markets and industries to enhance their brand communications. In an exclusive interview with AIM co-founder and CEO Kate Bradley Chernis takes us through how you can use AI in your marketing, creating a better social media presence, all with a special social media content tool.
We start with me. So because I'm good at writing, Lately studies what I write personally first as its baseline. And I've obviously produced tens of thousands of social posts. From what I write, I created a series of rules, and I teach the rules to my staff. And so when we push content through Lately, whatever comes out, my staff augments that content based on my rules. So that's layer 2. Layer 3 is we hold free live classes weekly, and we teach all of our customers the same rules. And so the customers learn to augment their own AI, whatever comes out from us, with those rules. So that's a third layer that the AI itself has to grab data and best practices from. Now, technically how it works is, in addition to that, when you create an account at Lately, you authorize Lately to have access to your social channels, whichever ones you like, and as many as you like. Let's say Twitter, for example. So once you do that, Lately's AI goes and studies everything you've published over the last. So we study the messaging that gets you the highest engagement, and we break that down into keywords, phrases, ideas, and sentence structures. Now we have a writing model for you. It's custom to your brand voice specifically, right? Now, again, this writing model first is accessing you and all that information, and then it has those 3 other layers of best practices to mix in, right? So when you feed the AI long-form content, it takes this writing model and it reads the long-form content and it pulls out what it knows is going to get you the highest click, shares, and comments. It already knows this, right? Now, every single thing you do, it learns from. So everything you trash, everything you publish, every edit you make, every hashtag you adjust or add, every app mention, it's remembering all these things. And you can even guide it very specifically. You can say, Lately, find more things that contain these ideas, find less things that contain these ideas. Right? What I want to say. So in the case of video 3, it'll automatically transcribe a video just like this. It's reading the text. So the text is always the foundation. Quotes, the one-liners that it knows are going to get you the most response. And then in the case of video, matches up the video clips of you saying that, right? So now you have dozens of miniature movie trailers designed as lead gen to drive traffic back to the full length. So my co-founder, Steve, actually came from this world. He came from the tech world, software as a service. He had a venture-backed company and had several exits, both good and bad. So he lived and breathed this world and kept asking to see my spreadsheets, because after the Walmart project, I had other clients and I was using the same kind of concept. And he kept saying to me, hey, let's just get $25,000 together. We can automate your spreadsheets and build wireframes. And to your point, I didn't know what those things meant. I'd never heard those words before, right? What? This is crazy. Don't touch my spreadsheets. They're awesome. You know, $25,000. I don't have that kind of money. I work in radio. I eat ramen and $2 chuck, you know? So he ended up pulling the money out of his own pocket and hiring Jason, who's another one of my co-founders, they came to my house on a Sunday night at Christmas. So it was vacation for me. And I already had like 2 glasses of wine. It was like 8 o'clock at night and I was pissed off that they were there. And they showed me the wireframes. They made them themselves. And I was like, oh, you know, I get it. So, but as we went on, we started out Lately as the spreadsheet system, the feature for each of the spreadsheets that I had built. There was this one feature that customers use the most, and it was the AI. We didn't even know it was AI then at all. Only about 3 years ago did we kind of figure that out and start really doubling down on what we were making. So one of the things we saw, our customers love to push that button. They want to push the generate button and see what happens because it's fun and it takes just a few seconds, really. So, you know, the more content you put in, the more Lately spits out. It is garbage in, garbage out, by the way. So we found, you know, with written content, people spend hours. They labor over writing a blog or a newsletter for hours. So it's very easy for Lately to find high quality sentences to pull out. And it's not just sparsing it into sentences, to be really clear. It's which sentences that it knows, right, to highlight. But we've seen customers reverse engineer it. So they'll go to the analytics section of Lately, where we surface word clouds that show you the ideas and words and phrases that are actually literally resonating with your target audience. And they'll say, okay, well, here's the words that Lately says are important to our targets. Let's write the blog based on this, you know, or let's do our paid ads based on, you know, what's here, or let's do the interview based on these ideas, which is kind of interesting to us. What was the question? I forgot. Sorry.
This is part of it.
So I get it. Yeah. It's all connected here too, right, Sri? So let me give you some social proof. So at Lately, we don't do any paid advertising at all.
Right.
And we don't do any cold calls or cold emails. So we only do organic social media as all of our lead gen. So I do interviews like this, or write a blog for somebody every single day, so one a day. And then I ask for the file. Like I'll ask for the video file if we're doing a podcast, for example. And then we run it through our own AI. The AI looks through, finds all the great snippets, and then we augment it and publish that on both our employee channels and our brand channels. And then we watch to see who likes and comments and shares, because those are warm leads, right? They're not cold anymore. And then we're able to qualify or disqualify them and push them into the product. So by the time we get them there, that trial to sale conversion rate is 98%.
Wow.
Yeah, wow, right? And it's because the AI is so good at knowing what our target customers will want to read, watch, or hear, you know, because you've trained it, you know, it learns.
Right.
So we're doing an experiment where kind of like a, how do I say this? Like a weight loss app. We're trying to figure out what is the KPI for you, right? So I have KPIs that I know I need my customers to achieve in order to retain them. And the KPI, but it's different for you actually. So like for us, that's publish at least 20 20 posts per month. That's what our KPI is. For you, it's feel some value. Are you feeling like you got time saved? Are you feeling like the AI created something that you wouldn't create on your own? And so what we decided to do is measure based on quantity. So we're doing this experiment. So for example, you enter in, okay, I want Lately to help me create 20 posts a week on Twitter. That's what I want. And so you are able to push that number in, and then we're able to then monitor that. So we can constantly get back to you and be like, hey, Sri, you've only done 6 posts to Twitter this month. Come on, you know, you have to do a little more. And then once you hit your goals, you get rewarded. So, you know, right, that whole kind of idea. So that's what we're experimenting with at the moment, is to figure out, like, are we able to close the loop? And what's the value? Is it time saved? Is it quantity of posts? It can't be ROI, because we honestly don't have access to what people do a lot with the post afterwards. So we can't really measure
Right.
you know, the engagement. I mean, because you can publish to HubSpot, so then they know what you've done, not me, right? So it's kind of and it's an ongoing experiment at this point.
Right.
The other thing that we are seeing too, though, is so we built an employee advocacy piece, where one manager can auto-generate content and then publish it out to any connected channel, like on LinkedIn or Twitter, from employees, right? So if the employees are like, just do it for me, I don't want to think about what to say, you have that capability through Lately. And you know, that what their goals are different. And so we're trying to figure out, like, what's the close the loop there? Like, what's the gamify there? One of the things we did was we built a post successometer. It's like a speedometer.
Right.
Right. And so every time Lately shows you a post it creates, it's encouraging you to edit it and to do things that we know are going to help you. Add a hashtag, add a mention, take out the non sequitur, add in your voice, and everything you do, it goes up and up and up. So far, everybody loves this thing. So interesting, right? And there's little tips that we've created that actually match the context itself. So from my rules, for example, we can see things like if you use positive verbs, positive calls to action, they're less effective than the opposite. For example, remember to go buy my book versus don't forget to go buy my book, right? So our tips can say to you, hey, try the negative inverse of that same comment, stuff like this. So that's really popular as well, because there's marketing education, Sri, but it's at a very micro level, right? Which is what's missing. So everybody knows, be more compelling, be more interesting, but nobody tells you how. Like, so I'll tell you something else we did a long time ago. We created in our analytics, we made it so that you can look at your website, so you can attach Google Analytics and all of your social channels, and you could upload data from, let's say, MailChimp or something, or WordPress even, and you can see the graph together. Now, if, let's say, all of your might is going into your newsletter, then the newsletter peaks and valleys should match up with your website peaks and valleys, right? Mm-hmm. Or same with Facebook. And so at Lately, not only can you see that, so it's at a glance, you don't have to understand what these numbers mean, but you can also click a spike and see what caused the spike that day. Literally, like the social media message that caused that spike. So that's another kind of no-brainer thing that people want to understand. Like, it's not just, you don't have to guess anymore. Like, I know that like Agorapult released this huge thing at Social Media World about how their analytics are showing you like numbers that matter. We're like, the numbers don't fucking matter. the words matter. The words matter. it's not designed to replace you. It's designed to augment and optimize and enhance what we're doing already. And when you think about that, like I said, I know people say this and we throw it away as cliche. This is actually 1 + 1 = 3, right? They have to be together. Now for us three, this is the challenge, because people are like, well, why can't I just push a button and Lately will like make my bed and make me feel like 2 inches taller and look 10 years younger? And I'm like, well, magic doesn't exist as much as I would like it to. Like AI requires human help. I mean, it just does, But when we were talking about the music thing, this is why there's this magical thing that you and I don't even know you, but we're smiling here, me and you, right? I feel like we could go have a beer and it would be fun, right? Because this is the thing that we are doing, the thing that can't be replaced right now. You're smiling, I'm smiling, maybe I'm blushing. I don't know. Right. Anyway, so once you understand that, what we've found is the lazy composition is huge, right? So for example, and it's just with marketing specifically, if you buy QuickBooks and you sit down to do your accounting, you're going to sit down to do work with a piece of software that will help you do that work faster, right? But there's work involved and you were expecting to do it. For some reason with marketing, people sit down and they just they want to do 0.
Right.
And you're like, well, shit, man.
I mean, you can't blame a lot of people, because AI for a long time has been marketed in that manner. It has a bad reputation saying that this is going to replace you eventually. Right?
It does.
And
You're right.
a lot of us, even when we look at AI platforms, no matter there are a lot of capable AI platforms, but the moment we look at it, even for me as a journalist, when I look at it, oh, AI, how much of it is actual AI, what it's supposed to mean, and how much is just machine learning and, really high forms of data analytics and all that. I mean, there's a lot of things between what we think of AI and what the reality is actually offering.
Yeah, I like to think of it as, so R2D2, right, is like a dog, right? They designed it that way. But it's not because he's like a dog. It's because we humans put that on him, our imagination, right? So it's the same idea, right? You have to have this. I like to think of it as, this is a great metaphor. So have you ever made cake in a box before from Duncan Hines or something like that? Your mom maybe made you cake in a box, right? You buy it at the store. So when Duncan Hines, or I think it was Betty Crocker, first released cake in a box, they made it so all you had to do was add water, no eggs, okay? And the housewives, because this is who was making these cakes, didn't buy it because it didn't feel like they made anything. So Betty Crocker took the powdered eggs out of the box and made it so you had to add eggs, and it sold like hotcakes, because now the human has a role.
Right. There's a human touch.
There's a human touch. How important that is. Yeah. The word clouds that we surface are, they're all you. So this is the opportunity for the human to come in and guide it and say, I'll give you an example. In the Walmart project, there's an acronym called VITA, and it's virtual income tax assistant is the acronym. Now there's a vegetable mixer called the VITA mixer that was very popular at that time, right? And we were learning that the hashtag VITA meant something very different to the rest of the world than us. So that's one of those things that Lately catches and gives you the opportunity to we do it with words, with hashtags, and with @mentions actually. So you can come in and be like, oh, oops, that's a weird thing lately. Do not pay attention to that. Or, this is something that we do want you to double down on and look for more. We're finding that in hashtag land specifically, Sri, the old way is to use them as indexers, right? And try to glom on to someone else's trend or wave. but that's old and it looks lazy as well. People can see it and smell it. So what Lately services is the hashtags that are actually relevant to your audience. So I'll give you an example. My personal highest trending hashtag is hashtag peeing my pants, because that's what Gary Vaynerchuk, when he tweeted about me, that's what I said, right? Okay, so now, like, I tell Lately to look for more of that stuff for me, because the voice I have, the context, the personality comes through in those ways, and it gets more engagement for me, right? But it's because I'm taking the time to tell it what to do. So if I don't tell it what to do, it can go off the rails, to your point, right? Now, if somebody came in and was like Alex Jones, that douchebag radio guy, you know that guy, like, all of his content is going to surface with racist stuff, because that's his audience, and there's nothing we can do about that. If we saw someone using our technology to be assholes, like, I don't have any problem just saying goodbye. I don't need the money for that. But we haven't seen anyone do that yet. And honestly, Sri, why is, like, we practice what we preach at Lately. So the way I'm talking to you, the way our AI, we call it the world's most human AI. And my staff is like super human and friendly, right? The way we treat our customers, the way we present ourselves online. You're talking to me, I'm very casual, right? It's just my nature. My nature is making fans. That's what I know how to do. Right. And so we attract customers like that. I mean, for example, in the last 3 years, not one day has passed where someone somewhere on social has said something nice about us, like just spontaneous, right? And we find this even with our customers who left us. They're like, Lately isn't for me, but we fucking love those guys. So we're just going to always talk about them nicely. And so I know this sounds corny and cheesy, but, like, we believe in the golden rule, do unto others, right? And that in this world, for me, as a female entrepreneur, how much harder it is for me to succeed than a man. And just in case anybody doesn't know, only 2% of all female-owned companies hit the $1 million mark. I'm almost there myself. It's very hard to do. So I rely on you. I rely on those above me, men, mostly white men, to lift me up. And I've used this, right? Like, so because that's how we go about it as a company, and because our AI is the mirror of what we do, right? We're able to walk that line super well, and it makes me feel so good. Like, I mean, I told you how my first experience in radio was, not my first experience, but my experience in radio was pretty shitty. Of course I was sexually harassed too. It was a whole ball of a nightmare there. And having lived in corporate culture, the culture that I designed here at Lately is fucking nothing like that. Right? I hired wild horses like myself. I let everybody run on their own, and it's a crazy way. I mean, not a lot of people can be autonomous, but that's how we roll. So, like, when COVID happened, there was no change for us. We already operate like this.
Right.
It's a flat organization. People run their own shows, and the other thing too is, like, I think a lot about, I'm on the cover of the magazine here, right? It's my own magazine, but I try to put my team on the cover as much as possible, because number one, the more the merrier. I mean, we get lead gen out of that, right? But number two, it's, again, like, the humans together, it's all over. So Keith Richards, him from the Rolling Stones, he says famously, without the roll, it's just a march. We worked with Anheuser-Busch InBev, AB InBev, a couple years ago, and we wanted to do an experiment with them where we took, I think it was 10,000 pieces of content. Now, the content came in the form of social media, radio scripts, press releases, any kind of text space we could get our hands on. And it was from one of their brand voices. They've got like 40 brands. So we picked one brand. Let's feed that voice into the AI, our AI, and see if we can get Lately to not only learn the voice, but then recreate it from scratch. And it did. So we took this model, if this is V2, and we did another experiment where we took my voice, because you have to have a minimum of 10,000. So I've got like 30,000 pieces of content, fed it to Lately, and it's now producing hashtags that I say, like peeing my pants. I might say like, holy hot pickled jalapeno peppers, or it's starting to recreate sentences, but with a twist of something that I might say to it.
Right.
So I had to park it the last couple of years because I didn't raise. We survived on almost no money as a company for a couple of years. But I'm now reinvesting in that. And so we'll be launching V2 soon. So like right now, our goal is to get you 75% of the way there, to like start you at third base, which is a pretty big deal. The new AI will actually start you rounding short, rounding home, like you're almost at home base. So like 90% of the way there, I should say. So that's really exciting for us. And to figure out like, you know, how do we take what we've built and make it so that an individual can pass it around really easily? Like that's what we're focused on at the moment. So Lately works in multiple languages, 3. So if you give me Portuguese video, I'll give you Portuguese social post, for example. It works with any language that works left to right and that has punctuation. So, and it's not that it couldn't work with Chinese, for example. We just haven't built it that way yet. So, and we have customers in India, by the way. We have customers globally now, which surprises us. Like we see them as soon as we always had customers in Europe, Australia, and India. But as soon as we launched the self-service products, we saw a lot more Asian come in, and then the Baltic countries. Our Indian population really doubled. So it's just interesting to us. We're just watching, you know, to see who's coming.
Who do you say that was? I mean, like, any guesses?
I think price point, probably. I think the price point was the biggest one, right? So instead of starting at $250 a month, we now start at $15 a month.
But even then, from an Asian, like, okay, from an Indian perspective, $15 is still quite
a lot.
A significant time investment, right?
Yeah. Well, you know, we can do a free product, which we used to have one, and we're just right now we're testing. You know, so the rule with self-service and product-led growth is first activation flow, then retention, then monetization, marketing, and then monetization in that order. So we've got our activation flow down. We've only been 90 days self-service, not very much long. So now we're working on that retention piece, and we see the numbers going up really rapidly every day. You know, we're watching every little part of the funnel, you know, and you know that's how we learned that we have to put publishing back in, because we're like, Jesus Christ. You know, all right, I'm raising money now because I can see that I have to double down on the investment on my engineering side. So, you know, I need to release a freemium product. I haven't yet because I want to make sure that that retention component is dialed right in.
Right.
Because why would I dump all my marketing into a funnel that's not 100% yet, right? I imagine we'll have quite a bigger uptake, obviously, when we do. What's interesting to us too, Sri, is so we had divided the products up from download only, so you can create content out of text, download it, you can't publish it at all. Then the next component was, okay, you can publish it at Hootsuite or HubSpot. And then the next one was, okay, now you get to do video as well, and then enterprise. But we thought that the ability to publish and text versus video is what divided and moved people around. It's not that, which is amazing to us. So video has to be in every piece, right? So how do I put video in a freemium product? Because video costs us. So I don't know yet. I mean, I have an idea. but so I need to rearrange the plans so that now they include, each one includes video and each one includes publishing, and what divides them now is actually seats and collaboration, which is amazingly standard SaaS marketing. But those things weren't what moved the needle for us previously. Like, so this is a testament to us, by the way. We're able to change because demand is changing. COVID did this, by the way. COVID is what moved this particular needle. And so, as a team, we're constantly, obviously, iterating and listening to what you guys want. But at the same time, I'm having, my job is to not have a gut reaction, a knee-jerk reaction, right? To really think about what other proof points, what's the market demand, and is there a way to do this next thing without feeling like we're on a goddamn yo-yo?